In this video then guys, I take a look at the 1981 adventure action movie Indiana Jones and the Lost Ark. So without further ado, let's get into the first installment in the Indiana Jones franchise. So let's get into it. So I thought then that this was an all-time classic and one of the best 80s movies out there. On Steven Spielberg, I think he has a huge impact in this on the success of this movie, as he is able to captivate audiences straight off the bat, as we see in the likes of Jaws, in Jurassic Park, and even in this movie, him just give us a little bit of a glimpse of what is yet to come, and give us a glimpse of what to expect in the movie. In the first 10 minutes of the movie, as Jaws, we see a shark attack, even though we don't necessarily see what shark this is and how big this shark is. We just get to see the attack. We just get to see the attack in Jurassic Park when they're trying to transport the dinosaur, and it breaks a little bit of captivity and able to munch on a few people, but you don't get to see the dinosaur. And in this situation, we get to see inside Indiana Jones who he is, what he does, and gives us a little bit of excitement of him being chased by a boulder. And it was just amazing how he presented the character of Indiana Jones in this scenario, as well as he showed a silhouette. He gave his time to sort of build up the character along the way, as it's just these two people talking, and we see a map, someone reading a map, then we see a silhouette of Indiana Jones, and it just gets you all excited. And that is a Steven Spielberg effect, and he does this on many movies. So when you're watching a Steven Spielberg movie, just look out for that first 10 minutes that gets you hooked into the rest of the movie. And it's so good how he does this, and that's why I think his fingerprints are all over this type of movie. I also think that this movie really elevates the Indiana Jones franchise off the bat. I think if you're looking to watch the Indiana Jones movies and you're like, oh, I'm not sure, watch the first one and it'll get you into the franchise. Because I weren't sure. When I started watching it, I was like, I'm not sure if I want to watch this. Put it on, bosh, I was hooked. And I think that is just down to the movie being so perfect and opens up the franchise in probably the best way possible. And I think that not much could be improved about this movie. And it really introduces you to this awesome character, and it makes you think, what is more to come from this character, and what better way? So going back on a previous point about the boulder, how iconic is that moment? Honestly, I think this could be arguably one of the most iconic movie moments ever. As to me, this has been imitated in the likes of the Simpsons Family Guy, you name it. This movie moment has been recreated in many shows, and even other little movie moments from Indiana Jones have been recreated, but this one for me stands out as the most iconic. And I think that just shows the brilliance of this movie, as it was able to elevate just a moment of a guy running away from a boulder into an absolute masterpiece. And it doesn't sound interesting in hindsight, but that's at the start of the film. That's what kicks the movie off. And you're thinking, if that's going to happen now, what's going to come later? And I think that element of things was just top notch, and I think that set the bar for the rest of the movie, in my opinion. As for the rest of the movie, I think it flowed very well, and there were some great fight scenes along the way. As we saw, the best one for me was clearly the car and truck sort of fight on the road. It's quite near the end of the movie, and it's just Indiana Jones barging cars out left, right, and centre, and then he ends up having a fight on the truck as the guy chucks him out the window. He hangs on to the front. Then vice versa, and that was just brilliant. Just him bossing around people in the truck, and that was the best fight scenes. And there were some good fight scenes in here, and also the iconic moment where Indiana Jones decides to shoot the guy instead of having a fight with him, and that was all down to him having stomach problems on the day of shooting. That's Harrison Ford, that is, and that movie moment is iconic because of that. And this is filled full of many of these, and yeah, I just think altogether round, it just fitted magnificently. However, I really want to be talking about the ending, as I thought the ending was magnificent. It was a mixture of quite gruesome and amazing at the same time, as we saw the Nazis get what they deserved, as they were turned into sort of melting wax, as it looked at the end, when they release this dust and they're like, oh, it's just dust in there, and then it releases this sort of demon thing that melts their skin, and it is quite gruesome. However, many people might argue it looks a bit fake now with the newer graphics. However, I think you can get away with it in this instance, as it's just one of those sort of scenarios where you just go, okay, but it doesn't ruin the movie. It could be better nowadays, but it didn't ruin the movie enough for me to go, it sort of ruined it because it looked fake. It didn't look that bad, and I think now they could do it a little bit better, but I think it was the perfect ending for this movie and for its time. And I think that this aspect of things really ended the movie quite well. They got what they deserved. The villains got what they deserved, being greedy and trying to steal the Ark and use it to be powerful and to give it to the Führer. And I think that was just the storybook ending that we probably didn't predict, but they deserved. I also thought that the cat and mouse thing in the movie was great, as I liked how they toed and froed between the villain, Dr. Rehy, and between Indiana Jones, as Indiana Jones managed to find the thing first, the Ark, with his mate, and then they tried to take it out of the temple sort of area, and that's where the Nazis find them, and that's where they take up and take back the Ark. But then after having a fight with them, Indiana Jones manages to take the Ark back on a boat, but then the Nazis invade again and take the Ark back for themselves, and that is the last time Indiana Jones really gets hold of the Ark until it gets back, until obviously they get killed by the Ark. And I think that's toing and throwing, sort of knowing, oh, is Indy going to have it? Is Rehy going to have it? Is Indy going to have it? Is Rehy going to have it? That was good, as it created a bit of, and that was probably the best thing in the movie, playing this sort of race who was going to be able to capitalize on the money, or the wealth, or the power of this particular item. And it was toing and throwing between who was actually going to come out on top, the good guy or the bad guy. And yeah, and I think easily the villain could have walked away with that and cashed in on that money if he'd have wanted to, but he wanted to use it for the power sides of things, whereas Indy wanted to use it for the wealth sides of things. However, I do believe that the villain was amazing, René Bullock, and I think he was like a really annoying villain, as he hid behind his resources, but that's what you want, an annoying, cowardly villain, as he was somebody that hid behind the Nazi army, and he was just sort of the leader of it all, and that he didn't really care what was in his way. He just had to get the Ark, and some of his other soldiers were quite annoying as well. But they're meant to be presented as that, as these Nazis were not nice people anyway. So it was a great villain, and for the Indiana Jones franchise, it was top notch for me. So finally then, I thought that the actors and actresses were superb, as we saw the likes of Harrison Ford, Karen Allen, we saw the likes of Paul Freeman, John Rhys, we saw also the likes of Ronald Lacey, Denholm Elliot, Alfred Molina and Wolf Kahler. I think the main ones out of this movie that looked like the best and were probably the standouts were probably Harrison Ford, as he cemented himself as a lead role just in this movie. As we know, we saw him in Star Wars playing Han Solo, but I think this is really what kicked off his career into full swing and action as a mainframe star, and this is probably one of his most iconic franchises that he was in. I think the likes of Paul Freeman as a villain was absolutely superb, and Karen Allen was also fantastic. To summarise this movie then, I thought that this movie packed a punch, started off the Indiana Jones franchise fantastically and the best way possible, hence why I've rated this movie an 8.1 and a classic film. So let me know down in the comments down below what your thoughts are on this particular movie, and if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to be alerted to all the new content that this channel creates, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Laters.